Oh, we missed out. We missed out on some of the utilities.
Need anything?
And if you go before, okay.
No. Okay, y'all need anything? You got pens?
Maintenance is annex, like third cabinet drink.
I'm afraid I can't help you. It was the other one that was running and he was doing all this stuff. I was like, you know what, guys, I think we got Bible wire right now. And Allison said, I was wondering how much caffeine you had. So I was like, 3?
One cabinet drink a day. And for some unknown reason, I've gone off. So,
I said I had 30.
She said, when is the police closed not open? I said, they all at the red. I bet you went. How big red in?
No, I saw you like there.
Oh, across the street?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you did?
Huh?
I bet you did. I bet you went, Whitney did it. I bet you seen your shirt.
Okay, I'm live streaming the thing, so hang on. Okay, so this is the information for the meeting, and what was your name again? Kay is here making sure everybody knows what's going on, because I was wrong earlier and had poor Wes sign in on the wrong form. But you've got this information about the Whitney Park cleanup. This is more about the water and sewer rate increase and why. And this is the Grant Works information. This is what's on the public hearing for tonight. And this is to sign up for the public hearing. And right now, I'm the only one speaking. And then this is the actual agenda of, for the meeting. And then this is the speaker registration form that Wesley ended up filling out so he could speak. And I signed up to speak there too. So that's what this is. So always check for papers and that you're filling out the right thing. Now I gotta plug back in. They have to wait until 6 o'clock.
Have a bottle of water with that help?
Here. Cheryl West. Here. Sam Pierce is absent. We have a quorum. Robert P. Sweet
invite you to preside over this meeting. Even if we have different opinions, give us unity and spirit. Help us to each listen politely as others share their points of view. Help us to work as a unified team, combining ideas for a great outcome. Help us to make us as whole, rather than individuals trying to promote their own agendas. May we have a spirit of camaraderie in this room and work together on our shared mission. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. Pledge allegiance to thee, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Public comments and received petitions. At this time, anyone will be allowed to speak on any matter other than personnel matters. Any matter not specifically listed for public hearing elsewhere on the agenda, or matters under litigation for a length of time not to exceed 4 minutes. No council, board discussion, or action may take place on a matter until such matter has been placed on an agenda and posted in accordance with law, Texas Government Code Section 551.042. Amy Hedke.
Hi guys. Regarding items on the agenda, I was looking at 14 and 15 on the cameras for the library. I'm asking y'all to either table it or vote against it. Security cameras are certainly some pretty great benefits to have. The library is a hub of community activity, and I understand that. I'm no stranger to city contracts and previously served on the Red Oak Parks and Library boards. But even as a proponent of making the library as great as it can be and as safe as possible for everyone, this is a huge chunk of money for the city of Whitney. And it's a time when residents simply can't afford what is already being spent. I was here when that little old guy came up to the microphone and pleaded for tax relief. And he didn't get any response from that. If we've got $48,000 to blow, I would love to see it go towards a specific city exemption for over 65 disability and veterans and stuff like that. But this is just a lot of money. I don't have the information on why this is happening. So I don't know the history. We just don't know. It's not an information thing. I requested the agenda packet to see if there was more information on that. But we don't get that until after the meeting. So by way of just being able to be informed residents, it would be great if the city could just post the agenda packet, everything that's already responsive to a public request, and post that before the meeting so people can see what's going on and there's not as many questions on it. Regarding the agenda itself, that's the transparency part. It's like this GrantWorks information is great. I had asked if building a new water treatment plant would be covered under this, but it doesn't look like it is. So I don't really have anything prepared for these specific activities. It'd be great if I did. I'll take a look before the public hearing, but this part here wasn't shared publicly. So the other part is addressing public information requests. Right now, every request you guys get is going to the attorneys. I don't even want to know, well, I don't want to know how expensive that is, but that's going to be another Public Information Act request. I know the law does not require that we hire attorneys for every single public information request. I requested a plain text copy of just the corrected notice that was sent to the attorneys. It was a notice that was already published, and I asked for a plain text copy, and we now have to deal with the city being billed by the attorneys for billable hours on reviewing an obvious
public information document. So I would encourage the city to find a way to start posting more information immediately to the website as another way to avoid unnecessary costs. As far as agenda items, I'm kind of surprised that the city loaded up a special city council meeting with stuff that really should be on a regular city council meeting. There's a lot of people here, or that didn't come, because they were thinking this was just a public hearing. And it's a special city council meeting with $50,000 on library cameras. So I would encourage you to consider going to twice-a-month meetings, regular twice-a-month meetings, if having 2 meetings a month is easier to get city business done. Because that's something that people can get used to seeing and going to.
4 minutes, thank you. Wesley Turner.
Anyway, I saw a wreck today on front of the Brookshires, and I just called 911 and got the people there.
Thank you, Wesley.
Thank you, Wesley. Thank you very much.
Good job.
Sandy Gardner.
Thank you, City Council. I'm very excited about a project that we've taken on from one of our nonprofits, Community Outreach Foundation, and the Hill County Whitney Lions Club. I'm very excited about cleaning up City Park. So we have a scheduled cleanup day on February 22nd, and I invite any of you to come out and see what's going on out there. We do have an incredible long-term plan to completely renovate this entire park. Completely renovate the tennis courts, turn those into some multi-use basketball courts and pickleball courts, bring in new playground equipment for our children, clean it up, and this is gonna take a lot of city involvement and a lot of city partnering. Therefore, I have requested to be on the full agenda for next month, and hopefully by next month, I'll have some rendered drawings of what we wanna do out there. I'll have some line item budgets that are really gonna be important, and I'm gonna ask for the permission of the city to use your logo in some things, and then we're gonna possibly go even a lease route. So all that's coming, but mainly I'm here today to just plant the seeds that this cleanup day is on the 22nd, and that we need everybody's help. We're gonna be in a brick selling campaign. There's just a lot of really, really cool things coming. But I need to kind of keep that under my hat until after the next meeting. So today I just want y'all to know that it's happening and that we're very, very excited about raising money and cleaning up the park and doing something that's really gonna make a difference, a big impact on our children. So I need the city. Thank you.
Thank you. No. According to our regular agenda, line item 6, receive information from Danielle Lewis, grant administrator for grant works for the CDBG grant.
Good evening, council. I'm not Danielle Lewis, she's sitting right down here. My name is Charles Edwards with Grant Works. Also have Rob Barthen here with us tonight. First off, thank you for allowing us to work with you on these programs. Tonight's public hearing, which I know we'll get into here in a moment, will address a recent grant award that was provided to the city of $750,000 to address public infrastructure needs here in the city of Whitney. So congratulations on that. And not sure how we want to proceed through this into the public hearing, but I'm happy to answer any questions regarding that grant award right now that you may have.
Mr. Edwards, can you just tell an overall 1,000-foot view of what this grant is, what we're eligible for with this grant, and what projects they can go towards?
Absolutely, absolutely. The funds begin at the federal level at HUD, and they filter down through the Texas Department of Agriculture, and there's CDBG funds, there are Community Development Block Grant funds. In the state of Texas, those are broken into entitlement funds, which go to the large municipalities, and they can do as they wish with those. Rural Texas competes for the funds, which, as you know, you're awarded the funds that we submitted for. Those in this region, every 2 years, the regions come together and develop scoring criteria for these and establish the project activities. In this region in Texas, you're eligible to apply for water, sewer, streets, and drainage projects as those top tier priorities. So that's what these funds can address. And you did that by way of resolution earlier or late last year, which was part of the competition. So that's what you're committed to because you got the top amount of points for those categories. So that's what they can address. They have to address areas of primarily low to moderate income. So that can be accomplished by either if you're citywide LMI, and I apologize, I don't have that information on me. You could look at a citywide project, or we can look at target areas as well and accomplish that by way of income surveys, individual income surveys of the households. The 51% of the persons benefiting from the project is a programmatic requirement.
So these funds from this grant supposed to be water, sewer, sewer, such as that?
Yes, water, sewer, streets, drainage are the main top tier categories that you're committed to applying under.
Okay.
Absolutely. There's various other grant programs that are offered, CDBG funds that are offered by the Texas Department of Agriculture, Texas Department of Housing that can address other needs. But this fund that you were awarded address because of the regional priorities and the top tier, which you received the top score for because you stated that you were applying under those. That's what you'll need to address with these funds.
That clarifies a lot.
Mr. Edwards, when typically you send these packets out to municipalities to fill this out, there's a form in there in which we have to identify our top priorities. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And then those points are awarded based off of that criteria. Am I understanding that correctly?
That's correct.
This is more for the public's benefit, so if they have these questions later, that they're being answered.
Thank you.
The two of the top priorities that the city of Whitney identified was drainage and road improvements. So, not water and wastewater, to be clear. So, those are what we're hoping to use these funds for. Can you kind of walk everybody through that might have questions down the road about what this process looks like from now till funding and completion?
So this is the first step to take public comments on anything the residents or the public here in the city of Whitney would, with this knowledge, would like to see accomplished with the funds. And then basically we develop a project scope moving forward with all the information that we've gathered. An engineer be brought on board to assist with the budgeting and later on down the road the design and bid process. But for right now, moving through this phase 2 application process, and this is very new. This is the first time they've done that with this fund phased process, but it's intentional because you know you're awarded the funds before you're deep diving into the project development, which is where we're at now. And this public comment period tonight is the first step in that. Once we devise that plan and identify projects, we'll move forward with estimating budgets, developing maps, all the requirements that we're hired on by the city to provide for you and fill in the blanks on the application within the online portal that the funding agency has. By April 2nd, we have to submit that plan to the TDA for their review, and they'll say, yeah, that looks like an eligible project. And then from there, we're kind of finalizing things, performing income surveys if need be, or if it's a citywide project, and you qualify under that. It's just a data set that we use. Final application due by June the 30th. So it's not a terribly long road that we have, but certainly able to be accomplished.
Sure, just a few more, this is more for education for you, right? So this is the first year that this grant has been $750,000, is that correct? It hasn't to this one?
That's correct.
So we're the first municipality in the hot dog area that has been granted the $750,000, is that correct?
There's two that were granted, and Rob, you know the other? Galinda. Okay, Galinda, and you were selected as the top two entities in this region.
Okay. Also, the income survey, can you kind of explain how that works? That's something that Grant Works takes care of, not the municipality itself, right? So,
That's correct.
Can you kind of explain that process, and if we identify areas of a certain part of town, what that will look like for our residents when this income survey becomes a thing?
That's right. So, HUD publishes out the LMI data that we have to meet, and so it's based on family size and number of persons in the family and your income level, a range of income. So there is a template form that's provided for use, and we do have our own internal survey team. We will work with the city. We will establish what's called a letter of intent, and that's something that our survey crew will carry around. If we identify we're going to work on First Street from Main to Northeast, wherever, a block or two out there, we'll identify and map all those households, and then we'll literally go knocking on doors and asking the residents there, explaining our purpose. We'll have a letter of intent which says we're working with the city of Whitney to do this, and contact numbers if need be, but we'll literally go door to door and attempt to obtain this information. We have to receive an 80% response rate on that, and 51% of the persons identified by way of that survey have to be of low to moderate income in order for that area to qualify for improvements. If not, we move to the next identified area and try again. So,
And just to kind of roll back to the projects, our focus in this town is going to be drainage and street improvements. And it's my understanding that the way this grant kind of works is that if we get into a street improvement, we identify a sewer line that's broken or damaged, needs replaced, while we're replacing that street, we're able to do so. Is that correct?
absolutely, that would be an anticipated or unanticipated, and either way, that's a tier 1 category as well, so it would qualify. Now, budget-wise, that would be good to know up front. Sure, there's that potential, so the engineer could potentially estimate some funds towards that, because if we apply for a street project for $750,000, anticipating we can go from here, from this point to this point, it's beneficiary driven. So anytime we affect those beneficiaries, it's a process to amend the contract and hope that our amended area still obtains the same. We don't have to have the same beneficiary ratio, but we still have to meet that 51% threshold. So any area we look at, we want to be sure it's a pretty solid area for low to moderate income, but budget-wise, that would be something you'd have to consider, because the engineer's estimate, if you're solely looking at streets and drainage, is going to focus on that and not that. And that's the same for anything that may come up when the project's underway.
Thank you very much. I don't have any questions, Council, Mayor. Anybody?
Do you have any questions?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for putting us in the top 2.
First grant in 6 years, I think, is for the city of Whitney.
That's great that you hit the $750,000 round 2. That's a big deal. It'll entertain some larger project areas and combat the struggles that have been had with being able to accomplish a meaningful project. So,
Thank you very much.
thanks, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Line item 7, hold a public hearing on the Texas Community Development Block Grant Program, the Texas CDBG program year 2025-2026 relating to community development and housing needs. Going to the hearing at 6:20. Andy, Hill. You'll have 4 minutes as well.
I don't have 4 minutes of stuff prepared.
So, I would suggest that since we can't use this for a new wastewater treatment, then, and it's income driven, so there's not gonna be a lot of input really that the public will have in determining which areas, because Whitney is so small. But that would kind of underscore my opposition to $48,000 expense on cameras, because we need another wastewater treatment plant. But I guess I'll submit a records request for that information too. So it would be great if we could have another public hearing where what he explained is actually explained to the public so they know what to come and talk on. Because none of this was given to us. None of this was provided to the public. There were 2 posts, basically, that talked about this. And this information was not in the paper, as far as this goes. But information, tonight is about information for me, and the easiest ways for people, not just Amy, to get information and have information and be informed on what the city's doing. Because those are great questions he asked, and we got some great answers. But that would have been great to know before 6:15. So anyway, thank you. Thank you.
Larry Farmer?
On the second, what Amy said, what I've got a problem with is the fact that we're talking about spending money for cameras at that amount, when I know that you can get cameras somewhere else and not spend that type of money.
This is a public hearing about the grant.
Well, but we're talking about that being included in that.
No, we're not.
Okay, well,
No.
that's my gripe.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have anything to say about the hearing, or in the hearing? Close the hearing at 6:22. Move on to line item 8, deliberate and act on resolution number 2025-0102, designating authorized signatories to act as the city's executive officers and authorized representatives in matters relating to the city of Whitney's participation in the Texas Community Development Block Grant Program.
Council, obviously this is in your packet, but I'm gonna read the excerpt here so that way everybody's clear about what this resolution is. This resolution is to authorize signatories on this grant and who can do what. So this says the mayor shall serve as the city's chief executive officer and authorize representatives to execute a grant application and any subsequent contractual documents, certify environmental review documents between the Texas Department of Agriculture, TDA, and the city, and certify the payment request form and or other forms required for requesting funds to reimburse project costs, and be assigned the role of authorized official in the TDA Go grant management system. In addition to the above designated official, should any grant be funded by the city secretary or operations director, are authorized to certify the payment request form and or other forms required for requesting funds to reimburse project costs, prepare and submit other financial documents, and be assigned the role of project director or payment processor in the TDA Go grant management system. That is the meat and potatoes of that entire ordinance. Resolution, correction, resolution, not ordinance.
Explain that.
What?
Explain what you just said.
Resolution versus ordinance?
No, the whole thing.
You're authorizing the mayor to be over this and the city secretary and myself to sign for anything through this grant application to, when the funds come, we were able to allocate them out. Am I understanding that correctly?
Based on what we've already agreed upon doing, correct?
This is simply for the grant. This has nothing to do with any other funds, this is about the grant.
I make a motion that we, approve resolution number 2025-0102.
I'll second it. All in favor? Oh, yes.
On item 9, receive information from Shane Baker regarding development of approximately 70 acres in the city's extraterritorial jurisdiction.
Good evening. I'm coming to talk about a new subdivision, but I wanted to give an update on a couple of past projects that the council approved. So the first one, and I included it in the packet, so the first 2 pages is just an overview. The last 2 pages is a overview of the subdivision. So, so we did Still Meadow Estates, east of town towards Hillsborough. That was in the city's ETJ. And council approved that. So that resulted in 22 lots, all of which are sold except one. And we have 11 homes built or under construction out there. 2 more are coming soon. And then we have another developer that's bought 3 lots that intends to build as well. So that subdivision is going good and looks good, and new homes, starter home level to mid-level kind of was the goal. So maybe 270, 275 to 450, 475. So that one's gone really well. The council also approved the Whitney Business District, so cleaning up the old Paul's building. So we cleaned that up, and then we were able to successfully recruit LP Physical Therapy to the roadside building. So LP Physical Therapy has done a good job, keeps a clean space, provides a good service to citizens, good revenue for the city. We've also recruited O'Reilly Auto Parts, which we're under contract with an estimated close date of March 30th, but they have the ability to push that a couple of more 30 days. So we're in process with them. So everything looks really good. That would be a brand new construction, X% masonry, like a really nice building in town. Again, should be good revenue for the city, should be good for the citizens. So those 2 projects, we worked with the council on, the city on, had great success, and we appreciate that. So upcoming projects, we purchased 70 acres behind Trace Hermanos, also SNA, that area. Very pretty area, a lot of trees, big trees. That property goes from Jefferson Street all the way to the County Road 2129, so it spans both roads. We also purchased, honestly, because it was an eyesore and dilapidated and falling apart, the old Riley's Auto Parts building, Dixie Boat Repair most recently, and gave it a facelift, cleaned it up. So I don't know if you guys have seen it. I got some new brick, and we're going to continue cleaning it up. That will house. We've got a little cafe coming to town that's going to open in there, and we'll have some offices for lease, and our offices will be in there. And then right behind that will be the proposed new subdivision area. Of the 70 acres, we're proposing to develop roughly 55, 57 of that into large acreage tracts, 1 to 7 acres. We want to reserve 13 acres. The 13 acres is the property that is right behind all the homes. So when you're coming down Jefferson, the property we wanna develop right now is behind Trace Romano's, also S&A, it's all behind the commercial stuff. There's nothing being developed behind the residential stuff down that road, down the 933 Jefferson Road. That we're reserving for later, to come back to you and talk about, figure out what we think that would be a good, good use for in the future. So if you turn over to the plat, that'll give you an idea of, there's 2 pages there. There's the actual plat from the surveyor, and then there's an aerial that shows the actual property, and I put some identifying markers on there. Like where Trace Romano says, where Allsup's is, to give you a feel of what the project looks like, what the property looks like. And our goal was to bring this to the council and talk about it and see what everybody thought. We want to ask, we just want to do Still Meadow Estates again in a little bit larger acreage format. We want to do a gated community, so gated on both sides. The city would have no obligations as far as sewer, road maintenance, would have really no obligations at all, except providing 20 water meters. And so we're talking about chip sealed or asphalt road, maintained with a warranty by the subcontractor that does it, and then following that with an HOA, POA, some sort of property ownership situation. So we're setting it up to where essentially the city has no responsibility other than to provide the water meters. These residents would pay for the water meters, pay for the water, and then we would just set it up to where if the city wanted to, they could annex this property if they want to. It's just up to the city. So, but to get going, we want to roll it out like Still Meadow Estates was. Still Meadow Estates follows Hill County guidelines. And so, some highlights of what Still Meadow Estates is. So, it has drainage planning, drainage engineering, again, chip seal asphalt roads, installation of underground water lines, underground electric by Texas, New Mexico. All of the homes have to be inspected by Bureau Veritas, the city's inspection vendor, common mailbox area. Again, as I mentioned, all home sites would be aerobic septic, so no city sewer required. Private trash service. So again, we wanted to bring that tonight to talk about it, to see if soon we could bring that to the council for a vote, allowing us to do it. And so I wanted to see if you had questions or thoughts or comments.
Council, if I may, Shane, Caitlin, and I have been working together on this for several months. Essentially what Mr. Baker's asking us to do is he had a very successful subdivision that he already had in the works prior to Mayor Barker getting the ILA between the city and the county for us to regulate subdivision regulations in our ETJ. What Mr. Baker wants to do is adhere to the county's subdivision regulations as opposed to ours, which are much more restrictive, and build the subdivision. It's a successful one. I have no problem with it. I think it's good. He builds quality homes, and frankly, we need those in our area. Actually helped Shane work through how to lay this out and to better help the city down the road. So this isn't a short-term plan. They're invested in this for the long term. So this is a very well thought out subdivision. The way that we've kind of laid out the roads makes sense to lay utilities out. Coming from a public works background, we made it to where it's easy for us to get things situated. So again, we've been working on this for several months now. Coming from a public works background, I have no problem with the way this is laid out. I have no problem with them adhering to the county's subdivision regulations as opposed to ours. Probably we should have never entered into that ILA, but that's for another time. But right now, from my perspective, I encourage you to give us your feedback on this. The reason we're having this meeting tonight in a discussion forum is we were working on drafting a development agreement But what we did not want to do is draft that development agreement, waste attorney's time without you being able to ask questions. So you ask your questions now, let's get them ironed out, then let's draft the development agreement before we present something to you and it has to go back for redraft and redraft and redraft. So let's get those questions asked tonight. Let's work through the problems, let's work through the details, so that gives us direction on where to take this thing.
I have two questions. First of all, we gotta protect our citizens in this town and also protect the developer, is what my main goal is. You know, we're all not gonna do what's, you know, in everybody's eyes, it's where you agree, disagree, but my thoughts on all this is we need to have our T's crossed and I's dotted. Now you're gonna ask where you're going with it. Like I said, I want to protect the developer, I want to protect the citizens. Have we done a water study, see if we can even carry the meters for the gentleman?
Councilman Ince, several years ago, we contracted an engineering firm to work on our water study for this system. We, on January 27th, received our preliminary report back. Now, we did identify some errors in that report. We're gonna have to do some field survey to verify, but the preliminary, came back that yes, we do have the capacity to support this subdivision. And once we get those errors identified, and if they are in fact errors, we're gonna have even more capacity than the engineer identified.
Okay. And the other concern would be, you know, sewage, but he's already answered that question, so we don't need to go down that road. I know we're having, you know, issues and we're trying to fix them. We didn't want to create any more than what we need at this moment. But he's already got that solution for that. So, and the trash and all that. So, he's already answered the other questions that I was really wanting, the answers for. So.
You're just gonna need 20 meters, 20 water meters?
Yeah, because we're doing, so we've noticed that the larger tracts are popular. You know, 2 acres or 3 acres, 5 acres, we get a ton of phone calls about those, and there's not that many available anywhere. And so, we just thought it would, I don't know, it fits good. We don't have that availability here. And so I sort of also felt like it was almost, I don't know, not competition with white glove, but an alternative to a white glove type situation, you know? And so, providing someone who didn't want to be there, the ability to be somewhere like this, you know, closer to the city and, a lot of other things, obviously, but.
So you're looking at the same type of, you know, cost of housing there?
Actually, we wanted to do, whereas we did out there starter and mid-grade sort of, we want to do mid-grade and above. I think, we'll build the first house there and it will be a nice house. I mean, maybe 400, 500,000. So, interestingly, the Still Meadow houses are selling, I mean, just about as soon as we get them done. I mean, it's amazing the need for housing. The first one we sold in 5 days, the second one we sold in 3 days. It's pretty interesting. So housing's definitely needed, and our goal is to do this, open up the lots for sale, offer our services to build you a house, or we build spec houses too as we're going along. And so a formula seems to be working at the moment, and so that's the plan.
What I've heard from Hill County is that we're expecting a large population growth in this area over the next few years. We want to invite those people to come to Whitney, and not necessarily White Bluff, but all of them. And my 3 goals: economic development. This falls right in. The more people we bring in, the more people are going to spend their money here. That's what we're looking for. The other side of that is I'm noticing all the wonderful foliage out there. I'm a bit of a tree hugger. How many trees, are you gonna flatten it? Cause I've seen that happen time and time again, where it's flattened and little tiny things are put in its place, and I would like to preserve what we could.
Pretty much what you've seen is what it is. We've already cleared the road. The road was almost cleared all the way through. We had one little patch we had to make, but, no, very, very heavily wooded, and that's one of the things that adds.
I I have seen lots scraped down entirely, acres and acres, and.
Councilwoman, West, if I may, Shane and Caitlin and I actually went out for a ride on this property and looked. All the oak trees are preserved. It's actually beautiful out there. The only thing that has been cleared off that land to make room were the mesquites and things like that. The large trees and all the viable trees are still standing.
Thank you.
I'd like to mention to you specifically on your points, the 13 acres that we own, it's not drawn on here, it's phase 2 or down the road. Just like we're bringing O'Reilly's Auto Parts, Dyna Energetics, LP Physical Therapy. I mean, we'd love to hear ideas from you guys on anything the city thinks they need in that area. So
I think vacant buildings are an eyesore in this city. It's been a pet peeve of mine, and so what we can do to beautify our community is a good thing.
same page.
I have a quick question. When these developments, come along, sometimes investors come in and will buy the larger acres. What prevents us from them, or you, from them breaking those 6 acres down to 1 acre lots?
That's a really good question. Totally restricted against doing that. These lots cannot be subdivided. What you see is what they are and what they'll always be.
Okay. And what is?
Without coming to you guys for you to allow.
Right. What is in, do you own, the James Burgess survey? Is that something that you're saving for something later?
Oh, yeah, Jen.
Oh,
This-
the phase 2 part.
Yes, thank you. That's the 13 acres I was talking
Okay.
about right there. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That could be, I mean, I want to do what's good for the community, you know, and so, sort of invite everyone to bring ideas and throw anything around that they think is good for the area, you know?
So I see where your gate is, I guess it's an entrance or an exit
Yes.
on the Colorado. I am not familiar where the other gate is gonna be. Can you
Okay.
tell me where that is?
Okay, so, behind Carla's Wacky Shack,
Okay,
you take 2129 all the way around.
okay,
And, it's right before David Peters' property where he has his high fence.
okay.
And it's kind of a cool feature of the place that, you know, you have entry from the county road and entry from the city, and depending on where you are in there, you might go one way or the other. So, yeah, pretty cool feature. And we've done 35 of these, maybe 40, and so, and it'll be done the right way the first time. Drainage will be done the right way, the gates will be done the right way. We're gonna set it up again where our vendors, you know, have warranties, and so if there's any issues within the first year or 2, they come back out, they make the repair. I mean, I think we've got it now. And so, we would expect, I guess if you guys said yes, we would start immediately. So immediately, a road would go in, the gates would go up, and this would be available, just as soon as maybe, 3 months, I would say. So this is a pretty quick project. We've already done a lot of work that we could do, clearing and cleaning.
Did you say it was gonna be gated, this one, or?
Gated on both
Gated.
sides, yes. We know the city has a lot to handle in itself, and so we felt like if you gate it and restrict it, and I guess that's another restrictions, I mean, so there's going to be a good bit of deed restrictions to keep it clean, keep it nice. That's what we did, it still met other states. So, next time I come, I can bring that and give you guys an opportunity to look at that, like square footage requirements on the homes, masonry requirements. You can't do this, you can't do that kind of stuff. So it's very important to protect each property so that it looks nice and works for the long term.
And council, just so you know, the restrictions that Mr. Baker's talking about right now, the legislation took that away from the municipalities to be able to regulate. So if they're writing those in their own homeowners association type things, they can regulate it that way. But just to be clear, the municipal, we cannot do that. So even in our subdivision regulations, that is no more. So he's talking about high quality very well put together homes.
Do you have any other questions?
Sounds like it'd be a really nice thing.
Council, I'm sorry, Mayor, we just kinda need some direction here. If you kinda like what we're doing here, if you are okay with us proceeding with the development agreement, and, because we're gonna have to essentially, since we have the interlocal agreement, it's gonna really dictate how we do it, because we're essentially gonna have to have a variance on our entire, subdivision regulations, and then adopting, the counties in their place. So, if you're okay with that, we just kinda need to know that, so we know what direction to go with the development agreement. Cynthia, who's our normal attorney, she's not here tonight, she's already kinda tracking what's going on
They
here,
don't really have
but
the
we need
authorization
direction from you. So,
to
if you're okay with
direct
this
city
direction,
on doing anything.
we can start drafting this, they're ready to go.
We sort of set the precedent with still matter of
Receive
fact.
information
So
from.
That's what we're hoping to do. That formula worked. Getting outside that box brings in a lot of other things to think about and creates a lot of issues. And so we can do it that way, which we know looks good and works good, you know, we're comfortable. And so,
As I was saying, there's a meeting in Hillsborough in a few weeks, and it happens to be on the same night as one of our CERT meetings, but it has to do with economic growth anticipated here in Hill County. And I'm in favor of bringing that right here, Whitney. Why there,
So make a
bring
motion.
it here.
No, this is just giving guidance and direction, so this is not about a motion or anything, this is, we need to know the council's intent, so we can get together, we can start putting that development agreement together to bring it to you. That's strictly what tonight's about.
So say we go ahead and get it going.
My opinion on all of this is, it's not in the city of Whitney yet. Can be, because you can annex it, okay? This is not something that we had to, I mean, you've got guidelines already there for subdivisions. This is not a city of Whitney deal. We go by the guidelines, whatever he had to follow with Trinity up there. And I mean, moving forward, or Still Meadow, I'm sorry, and move forward. That is not our decision on that part. As long as he's by the guidelines and he's outside the city limits, and the city is not annexed, guys, it's not up to us.
Bingo.
And I support him, what he wants to do, make our community better. The only thing that we got in our hands right now is that can we support him more? You did it. You found, we did a water study. We can do it. Okay? That is the decision that we need to make in the future or whatever. So to answer your question and your question, I would tell y'all to move forward because it is not our decision because you're outside the city limits. As long as we go by the guidelines like we did with Still Meadow. I mean,
And in the future, would you have any problem with being annexed into the city?
no problem at all. Whatever the city wants.
Because that would be a plus for us.
It's actually whatever the homeowners want.
Whatever works best for you guys. We just, to get it started and get it going, our plan would be develop it and then go,
or
do you want it? Or, you know, y'all ready? Or do you not want it? Or you wanna wait? Or, you know, so.
I'm all for it.
And our police and fire operations are able to maintain at the existing
It,
level or
it would be all county,
county?
pre-annex. It would be county, and so that's for you guys. I mean, the annex conversation for you is, I mean, there's a lot of meat there because there's responsibility for the city, whereas step one, there's not necessarily, so.
Let me say it this way. Our police department and our sheriff's department have a great working relationship. If there's somebody that's in need of help that is within our ETJ, our officers will always respond.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Shane.
thank you.
Line item 10, deliberate or give guidance on the city of Whitney maintaining Whitney Veterans Park. So I received a phone call from Operation Greater Love that their finances weren't where they could maintain Veterans Park. The water, the mowing, and the electric, I think. And they approached the city about maintaining that form for them. But they weren't clear on if they wanted us to sell their bricks or any of that stuff. So, I have reached out to them to respond back to me and let me know what their, besides maintaining it, if they had any other expectations from us, and I haven't heard anything from them. Other than the mowing, the water, and the electric.
Council, if I may, what the mayor said, I think that, one thing that has been kind of clarified to us is they do still intend to sell the bricks for funds. One of the things that they mentioned to us when they first contacted was that Operation Greater Love's sole purpose is to build homes for disabled veterans. And because